more on that. I mean, I do have bipolar, but I think for the longest time, because DID is such a I'll say like a very anomaly in terms of still it's still being researched and there's not enough background on this. So again, I for me, I think it's a I don't know. I sometimes even think now if it feels the right thing to make that statement because um, I in the beginning I think I was more prone on just expressing myself. Like there was no real motive other than like however people take it. You know, I I think I should just open up with a small part of who I am. And it would be a lot more easier for people to develop the idea that this might be based on my episode, which, it's fine. But however, for me, the more real aspect is my episodes, I disassociate myself
Right.
in my episodes. And I think for me, especially, it's been, I don't know, about a good 8 years since I think I've been gradually disassociating myself. I
Mm.
think and I find out I've been doing this, I think ever since I was a kid.
Mm.
So I think for me, it's quite interesting because again, as I'm putting these out, um, all the time, so I feel like I'm constantly changing my thoughts on these releases and just how much I can't say.
Mm.
Because again, it's such a taboo topic with just mental health in general,
Oh,
and
I know, and I hate that so much. But yeah,
it's understandable because
yeah.
I think at the end of the day, they don't. A lot of the people that will relate to it will find the similar strands, and if they're in search and need of wanting to just kind of lean into something or somebody, I think it's perfect. But obviously, for those that don't know what really goes on behind the scenes, and obviously you can't really open my doors completely to it. Obviously, they can only judge it based on a certain criteria that I'm stating or what's online anyway.
Right.
I do understand that it is a forever ongoing. I guess you can't please everyone, and
Right.
going into this, I'm very well clear of that. However, at the same time, I don't like. I sometimes question: Am I glorifying it in any type of
Mm.
way? I would hate to put it on a pedestal where it makes disorders look cool. Like it's more in this consensus of, and I think that's the one thing that I think I've always struggled with because for me, it's as real as day and night.
Yeah.
But to somebody else, it might spark something in them, and I don't want to have something later in the future where people don't have necessarily anything wrong with them, but because it might look somewhat cool to them or something that they might grow that agenda. And I think
Yeah. I see the concern there.
that there is a bit of a concern in that part. But for the most part, the whole DRD thing is still very somewhat fairly new to me. It's me and my team have been studying it for so long, and we've been documenting this for years. And one of the first ideas that we've ever really wanted to do was literally release a documentary after I'd say we wanted to document for at least about a good 6 7 years, and really just build on off of that.
Mm.
And the idea of that was to just really be more informative and um, later on, whoever can reflect and look on this, maybe it can provide further information, friends, families who might have that, because it's still a new condition. And I've seen other people that have certain quote unquote DRD, but a lot of the misconception too is a lot of people that might have bipolar might misconstrue it with having DID because a lot of people that do have bipolar, it's very neck and neck. People that have bipolar tend to, especially the ones that get really manic, and type 1, I believe, and especially those ones that really get traumatized. And I think trauma and manic episodes shouldn't go hand in hand, but
Mm.
essentially, if they do, that's kind of at an early age. I think that's when people start disassociating themselves.
Yeah.
And it's not. And for me, I feel like I've seen so many different types, but at the same time, I know sometimes that people have a certain bipolar um, might actually have DID, not bipolar. So
Right.
it's something that I'm still figuring out. But for the most part, I think a lot of boxes check out in terms of what DID for me is with the blackouts. And again, it's hard to sometimes project that. And I think by I will say honestly, by doing moto and um, oh gosh, like I don't know, by doing moto, it really did enhance the character that I've always been living with unconsciously, and it
By
definitely.
you mean like by giving a name
Oh my
and
goodness!
yeah, okay, I got you. Yeah.
And I think I've been, and again, because of that, I think for a fact I know, like like Tom Holland did something that I think played a character in the movie that played a DID role, and I think his role was actually the closest I ever saw to what I experienced when I come out of switches. And it was, I think, at that moment that was kind of, it was hard for me to see, but like obviously, like you have movies like what is it, like Switch,
Split,
Swap,
I think.
Split, but
Yeah.
that's like
I
it
haven't
doesn't have.
seen it yet, but yeah, I know of it. Yeah.
So it doesn't really happen like that. It's that's obviously like a very exaggerated like Hollywood style of it, but
Yeah.
for me, it really does hit home when like for example, like the minor that you see on screen. That's I'll say it's only a fragment of what he really is and what he really looks like and what it really
Wow.
and what he really sounds like. Obviously, only a certain few number of people have seen it that are a part of my team and like certain friends and
Yeah.
it's I would say the one that you see on the screen is a very dumbed down version of what
Mm.
Echo is, and it's put me in so many spots that uh, a little bit concerning sometimes, but at the same time, I think for me, to be completely honest, it really is something that I still can't accept.
Mm.
It's hard for me to grasp uh, that this is my reality sometimes, and it just doesn't make any sense. I'm a very like, to be honest, I'm a very non-superstitious person. I have the whole supernatural and all that, but I can't. But the things that I've seen and things that my team has seen over the past few years, it's hard to describe.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I was just so prone on wanting to share my story. That was honestly um, that was all that was on my mind. I didn't know what type of effect it would have on me and vice versa. Um, I just knew like there was no other way of doing what I had to do. I just had to get it out, and it's always been like that. It's always been about, well, even a lot of my concepts, it's very dark. Some of the videos that I shot are very dark, but there's always like a splitting image.
Right.
And, I've always subconsciously have hinted at it. The whole mirror, the whole first Moto album, the
Uh,
cover.
it's a sore subject. I don't have that one. And they're so expensive. I've been like stalking
Oh,
sites,
really?
like resale sites online, and they're selling them for like $500. I'm like, come on, people.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah.
Like,
I have
that's
I have I have this one, of course. And
amazing.
then I have this one that I got. And then I
Oh
had
wow!
a subscriber send me this one, which was the Korean version
Oh
that
wow!
has photo cards in it. And I'm like, ah, I got a photo card.
Oh, goodness, that was the first time I ever did that. I mean, I don't know if people were liked it because it's
Oh,
something.
are you kidding me? We love photo cards.
But yeah, I mean that's pretty much just how everything kind of came about, really.
Yeah.
And again, it's still such a fairly new topic for me. It's something that I have a hard time grasping,
Hmm.
and for the most part, all I can ever do is project it on to whatever it is that I'm doing. And people might say, "Oh, but you don't have to do it like that." but but I don't think they understand sometimes when I'm not me.
Hmm.
uh, it's that means the thoughts, the trail of thoughts, the motives, um, just the knowledge and things. Not even just talking about the persona, are completely not yours. It's
Right.
not. It's a completely different person. So it's like an anomaly, and it's a very hard thing because I get asked a question, but if you ask the same question to a different state that I'm in,
Hmm.
different answers, and
Completely, yeah. It's a different person, essentially. But
essentially,
people have a hard time grasping that concept of, but what do you mean it's a
it's
different person? It's the same person, but no, but it's not.
and I can't I can't describe it. I really don't have any. I'm seeing a specialist for this, and
Hmm.
I can't really describe. Like I even myself, I find it really embarrassing. Number one,
Well, you
really,
shouldn't, but
yeah.
I appreciate your vulnerability, but you shouldn't. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it. Thank you for that, but it is really embarrassing. It's really embarrassing because it's for example, people have intrusive thoughts, and people have some, like, the deepest, darkest version of themselves, and for the most part, a lot of people can choose to show that and not to show that.
Hmm.
uh, I'm sometimes left with no choice, and it's sometimes, it's a version of me that I would never want to really show the world. So the best thing I could do is really dumb that down to um, what it feels and what it looks like, conceptually, and hope that people will find some type of, I don't know, really just some type of comfort or whatever, or understanding in a certain regards to it. But again, it's there has been some slip ups where, usually if I feel like I'm turning it long time ago, there was it kind of so mounted to the switch, but ever since I ever since I started this whole, the artistry, oh man, it's been hectic. I'm not gonna lie, it's been pretty crazy. It's just been like, it was like that, and it
It's
just switched
amped everything up.
100, like
Yeah.
at 50 and 60 and 70, and I understand it, understandably so, because I think at the 50 or 60% mark, I was more in an environment where I had more control over it, meaning I knew I blacked out, but I have always conformed to staying indoors. Like I never go out. I haven't went out, and I've only diverted all my energy and attention into making DPR,
Right.
what it is. So for me, like, people might think, it's a very introverted thing, but for me, I had no choice because I've had my fair shares of. In the beginning, I try to make people understand, and
Yeah.
turned terribly wrong because a lot of my friends were confused because they're like, oh, you're like, you're very like this, but then all of a sudden you go missing, and
Right.
all of a sudden you come back like everything, like yourself. And I have really no, um, in the beginning I was kind of, I guess, sad that they didn't really get it, but later on, if it feels like me, and I had no, you had no real grasp of what this is. Yeah, I think I would be confused, and I've
Right.
met a lot of people like that. So I think the whole insecurity part of this was just me having a hard time, relationships, and
Hmm.
in general, just social life, just going out in parties. There was times where I'll just be outside, and then I'll feel it, and then I'll be like, okay, no, this is not
Gotta
happening, and
go.
then
Yeah.
and kind of like, when you see like the Batman lights going on, it's just, I had to go back to my den
Yeah.
and and lock all the doors, um and then next minute I wake up, and for the longest time I think it felt like a dream, just unfazed. Luckily, but again, I never recorded it. Well, there would be certain times where I would wonder about it, but I never recorded, other than what I see that is left.
Right.
So it was very interesting. And then So Beautiful was like the I think the first time that yeah, I split in front of people,
Mm,
and that was
an experience
yeah,
for
that was
everyone.
everyone that was just confused, but
Yeah.
not as confused as me. Yeah, again, that's when like whatever you the human mind is, I think, is an extremely scary place, and very rightfully so. I heard even when Tom Holland did the method acting and the characterization for the person that had DID, he couldn't come out of it for like
Mm,
months, and
yeah.